Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co host, Will. Will, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm William Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, this week's conversation is going to center around relationships and the baggage that we bring to the table sometimes, and those things that we tend to accept from our partner initially that become issues later on in a relationship that may or may not be able to be overcome. So we just wanted to kind of throw some things out there for you to chew on before you commit to a relationship, or while you're in the relationship, you can identify those red flags and try to handle them more effectively. So let's start out with first off, let me ask my co-host here, did you have any comments you wanted to make prior to our discussion on relationship baggage?
Uh, I think that it's important to know what you bring into the table, not just in a good way, because in order to navigate the relationships that you will have, you kind of need to know, and it'll tend to help make you. Excuse me. It will tend to help you make better decisions uh, in your endeavors.
Right. So there are going to be 7 topics that we're going to cover, and it's probably going to span more than one show. So this week, I'm going to give you the first two, and we'll see how that works out, how long it takes us to just kind of go through it. Topic number one is 10 bad health habits that can ruin your relationship. And topic number two are 4 types of baggage we bring into a new relationship. And let's start here with relationships. They take hard work and require commitment, support, encouragement, and communications to keep them going strong. Unfortunately, we're living in a time when the divorce rate is high. You have about a 50-50 shot at your marriage lasting, and extremely depressing, an extremely depressing thought. The fact is, a lot of things can lead to divorce, from infidelity and abuse to annoying and unhealthy habits. There's often several reasons relationships fail, but there are things you can do, or in this case, not do, that could help your relationship succeed. Number one, smoking. Smoking is a common point of contention in a relationship, and a lot of relationships are ruined because of it. In some situations, both partners smoke when they meet, and then one of them quits later on. Or sometimes only one of them smoked when they met, or one of them picked it up. How they got there doesn't matter, because the resulting recurring arguments are about getting the smoker to quit. From guilt trips to anger, fights about health and the future, or setting examples for children, this bad habit can easily lead to splitting up. Smoking is absolutely terrible for your health, so kick the habit to save your relationship before it's ruined. Let me stop there. Got a thought? Comment?
Yeah, smoking is probably a huge point of contention in relationships because if you're a non-smoker dealing with a smoker, you don't know what they're dealing with, and if they've been smoking most of their life or all of their life, they're not used to not having it, and that dependency um, can drive a wedge in any relationship.
Well, I can certainly understand that. I mean, personally, I don't smoke, and I'm not attracted to anybody who does smoke, whether they are considered a friend, or, before I got married, a prospect to marry, or even somebody I work with, because when you smoke, you stink. Your clothes stink, your car stinks, your house stinks, and your breath stinks. Okay? And if you think that's attractive, trust me, it ain't. And so if you find somebody who's even interested in spending some time with you and they don't smoke, trust me, they know you smoke, you know, and they may be willing to kind of work with you, figuring that maybe, you'll not smoke around them or they can avoid it or whatever. That doesn't work very well for very long. And then the other part of it is it's a health issue. And so why would I want to have a relationship with you when you are every day pushing the envelope towards death? You know, and if you think that, oh, I'm not going to die from smoking, yeah. And the other part of it is you going to get sick. And who do you think is going to sit around and take care of you behind after you decided it was okay for you to do what you wanted to do? Because it's a very selfish habit. So let me get off my soapbox and go on to the next item. Keeping emotions bottled up. Now, this is something that drives, steps on my toes. This might not sound like an obvious bad health habit, but internalizing your feelings and holding back during vital times of communication can be quite damaging to your emotional health. Think back to your moody teenage years, and you'll likely remember having some petty, dramatic, and intense fights with your parents or friends after letting things build up in your head. Keeping your emotions bottled doesn't do either partner in the relationship a favor. You'll either end up letting it all out at once, saying hurtful things that seem to tumble out of your mouth, or you'll let it build up in your head until you decide the relationship just isn't worth it without even trying to fix what's wrong. Are you an open person? Do you are you how do you call it? Open, willing to express yourself. Uh, you know, hopefully at the appropriate time, but making sure that you're saying or you're getting out and making your point that well this works or this doesn't work or you know however. And I'm asking you, Will.
Um, Sometimes, I mean, it all depends, the person that you're talking to. If you feel like they're receptive, then you may be more, I may be more open. And if it's somebody that I don't think really gives two craps about what I'm thinking or feeling, I'm probably gonna be tight-lipped about it. So,
But now we're talking specifically about being in a relationship
yeah,
or trying to be in a relationship, meaning that you want to see this, you want to see this person again on the regular,
yeah,
and something comes up or you notice something that doesn't quite sit well with you or you believe could have been handled differently. And I'm not trying to get you to talk about being controlling, because that would be the far end of that spectrum. But sometimes, a person, here's a quick example, um, getting upset at something and cursing somebody out. Now, that doesn't mean that you may not be, right in feeling the way you felt. But for me, I probably would have difficulty in cursing someone out in front of my wife or children unless I had just lost my mind and cursing was just the prelude to what was about to happen. Okay. Prelude to what was about to happen.
yeah,
So in starting a relationship or being in a relationship, you if you're the kind of person that will just hold back and say I'm not going to say anything about that might be you, but that might not necessarily be the best way to handle things. There's always a time and a place and a way to say what you want to say, and you could do that with anybody at any level. You pick the right time, you pick the right place, and you start with the right motive, the way
Hmm.
you can say anything, you know. But in the heat of the moment, things don't necessarily go as smoothly. But if you know that, well, look, let me just step back for a second and then we'll have a conversation about this because I don't want to just hold it in and don't say nothing, just hoping that it's going to go away. That's the kind of person uh, that probably has a better opportunity to having a stronger relationship because they speak up. The next item, number 3, letting yourself go. Now, now I'm sure there's a lot of us out there who have let ourselves go for one reason or another. And it may sound vain to say you shouldn't let yourself go when you're in a relationship, but there are serious health ramifications when you gain a significant amount of weight and your partner is right to worry about the impact on your health. It happens a lot. People get too comfortable together and often stop exercising. And while the person you spend your life with shouldn't should not judge you or be with you because of your looks, being overweight or obese can ruin a relationship. The good news is relationships can strengthen from working out together and staying active. Signing up for a class, marathon, or simply being active together is a good alternative to letting yourself go. Your thoughts?
I mean, health is important because if you're in a relationship, that person wants you to be around. You should want to be around for as long as possible. So it just kind of makes sense. And you know, gaining weight is not always a bad thing. I mean, muscle weighs more than fat. So some people, when they hear, "Oh, I put on weight," you know, the there's a misconception about weight. You know what I'm saying? You can gain weight and it be healthy weight. So that's one thing people need to understand and get away from the weight thing. Look at health, your cholesterol levels, all those different things that make up a healthy person. Those are the levels that you want to check. Don't like, oh, I got on the scale today. I'm 20 pounds over what I want to be. You could have just put on 18 pounds of muscle. You know, I mean, but you think that is 18 pounds or 20 pounds, and it's like, oh, should I need to go on a diet? No, that's not necessarily the case. So, like, a lot of people get wrapped up around that weight category, and it's to be, based on a lot of different things. When they talk to their doctor could break it down to them. And of course, your heart levels, your, EKGs, all that stuff is important to track. So.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is every time I look at you, ooh, the muscles look pretty big. Mm-hmm. Yeah, today, 10 years from now, the muscles are gonna be nothing but flab. But okay, you know. And then on the woman's side, hey baby, you're looking kind of thick there. Mm-hmm. And then 10 years down the road, well, you need to kind of, push back from the table, babe. It's it's not going well. But there's a way to handle that. And like, the suggestion is one of the suggestions is, go work out together. And it don't necessarily have to be like we both got to go to the gym. We're gonna go walking. You know, um, you know, I rather, well, where I happen to live, I'm about 4 blocks away from Dunkin' Donuts. So somebody said, well, you eat donuts and coffee every day. That's a problem. But yeah, if I walk there, it may not be as big a problem as you think. Uh, but we'll think about that. Anyway, let me go to the next one. Number 4, being lazy. Kind of, you know, okay, laziness can lead to physical inactivity, increasing your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and several forms of cancer. So lazy is kind of like an offshoot of, getting overweight type of a thing. Uh, you don't have anything you want to say about that, do you?
I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You know,
Okay. Um, Here's one: excessive drinking. When your partner is drinking excessively, it's bound to cause serious problems. They may not be considered an alcoholic by medical standards, but they don't have to be for you to worry about their health. Excessive drinking can lead to a range of health problems causing damage to your liver, heart, pancreas, brain, and immune system. The drinking issue in itself could ruin your relationship. Wait a minute. The drinking issue in itself could ruin your relationship, but alcohol can also make people mean, emotional, or abusive, or a combination of these things. The strain of this can ruin the relationship even faster. Your thoughts?
it's true. Alcohol can definitely adjust your mood, whether, if you're angry, it could amp it up a little bit more, or it might mellow you out, but anything in excess is bad for you, health wise, relationship wise, and, you know, moderation is what most people say. If you do stuff moderately, it shouldn't be a problem. But the issue in this situation is excessive drinking, or alcohol consumption. And like I said, it does separate some families because, like I said, if you have one partner that doesn't drink at all, even if you drink one drink, it might be considered excessive to them. And once you start changing their perception of you, then you're already starting to drift away. If
Yeah.
that one drink turns to two, and so on.
No, no, I agree. And one of the other things about drinking, if you're, as I said, a mean drunk, you know, whether it's one drink or, two or three bottles down the road, you're still a mean drunk, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's even more of a problem than most people want to put up with. Those people who tend to put up with it are hoping for a better day, but then in the meantime, you don't know what you're risking, because a mean drunk will just get meaner and meaner because they get comfortable with their meanness.
Mm-hmm.
You accept it and you accept it, so I can just drink more and get violent, more violent or whatever, or abusive, and that's a problem. Which is interesting because when you first meet people, a lot of people meet people in a bar or at an outing where there's alcohol or whatever. People get loose, a little comfortable or whatever. Yeah, that happens. But then it's all fun and games until you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, well, she don't drink and you drink. So what do you do? Well, okay, well, I won't drink at home. I'll go out. Then you're out in the street and you're drinking and driving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'll stay home and drink. Now you're cooped up in the house and you're drunk. See, so it's a losing battle at you, whichever side of the coin you're on. But your point about in moderation, is a good point. But it's a conversation that you need to have an understanding. Um, your partner may not necessarily say directly to you that I think you're drinking too much, or I really don't like when you drink,
Mm-hmm.
until it becomes untenable. When they finally open their mouth and say, "Listen, you know, you need to check yourself because you just getting out of hand when you with your friends. It's not that you with your friends; it's that you're drinking with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you need to check yourself before you get in the relationship to the point of okay, now we're serious.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to kind of have that serious conversation as we go along to know that I'm not willing to give up drinking, so then this ain't gonna work out.
Mm-hmm.
No sense in getting serious and all that, making babies and stuff, and buying property that we're gonna have to share back and forth when one of us already knows you got a problem or you doing something that I don't particularly care for. So, okay. Next item, hold on. Working long, losing my voice. Working long hours or working too much. Workaholics. Am I clear or not? Because
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
okay. Working workaholics. They're everywhere. Over the years, people have begun working a lot more than your standard 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And relationships are ruined all the time because of it. Unfortunately, it's pretty common for people to be checking and responding to emails in the evenings and on weekends, and even putting in a few extra hours once they get home from work. You got to be able to unplug. Working too much can lead to an increased risk of depression, back problems, heart disease, stress, and all that kind of stuff, vision problems. So you got to understand that I'm off work, I'm off work. I unplugged. I want to now focus on my relationship and not on the job. Right? And that goes both ways. That's not just a man thing, that's a woman thing too.
Yeah.
People getting gross because their career is important. And I understand that your career is important, but is your career more important than the relationship? You
Mhm.
know, and I can understand that. It's one of those double-edged swords. Well, if I don't do what I got to do and be where I got to be and put the hours in, then I'm never going to get to the position that I want to get to. Understandably, so you want to have that conversation before you really get serious in a relationship. So we understand. Yeah, sometimes you find somebody you feel comfortable with them, you want to have a relationship with them, and then you start the relationship, and then suddenly, oh, the big job came about, or I was going to school while we were, getting married and getting to know each other. Now I'm now I'm an attorney. Now I'm whatever, and I'm ready to rock and roll. You know, how does your wife feel about that? You know, time and time again, we've seen situations where everything is fine and dandy. We met, we got married, we got a kid, a couple of kids, and we got a house or whatever. You're this professional or you're this entertainer or whatever, and things start to pop for you. Now suddenly you got a case of the big head. I'm all that. And the one that you love or loved is now secondary to you. These are things that you can't plan on, but you can have the conversation early on that, listen, if we get to this point and you feel that you all that, this ain't gonna work, you know, or whatever. Have the conversation. So let's go on. What are we at? Number 7 here. Doing drugs. Almost the same thing we talk about being an alcoholic. Seeing someone you love choose to do drugs and seeing them high is different, is difficult and upsetting. If you don't quit the habit, when asked by your partner, your relationship is going to eventually be ruined. Um, it, it, Doing drugs is kind of like, you know, when you're young and you got no responsibilities and you do what you did it. But now you got to grow up, you know. And if you can't grow up because of the drugs, because you have a physical addiction, you got to deal with that. You got to be wanting to deal with it because it's not going to be easy once you become addicted. Okay, you with me, man? You all right? You look like you're about to fade.
Nope. I'm just listening.
Okay, let me see if I get the last couple of these here. Not getting help when you need it. It's just the same thing I was talking about with the drugs. A lot of people in relationships can feel helpless when their partner doesn't get the help they need to address uh, and accept and manage and this is talking about a mental illness, but also an addiction, a physical illness. Uh, Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, not getting the help that's needed is want to definitely put a strain on a relationship, especially if they're. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, as you said. I forgot what you said. I know we mentioned addiction, but also uh, mental. Like it could be a
Mental health.
mental health issue. Yeah, I mean, it's to know that there's an issue there and not be able to or not going to get the help that you know that you need. Like if you've been diagnosed with something and you're supposed to take some medication and you don't want to take that medication anymore because it makes you feel a certain way, but you don't want to tell the doctor that is making you feel some type of way because you don't want to go to a different, regimen or whatever, what have you, whatever the reason is, that's hurting you and it's also hurting the people that care about you. So it's important to get that help, uh, whether you like it or not. It's going to help you because if nothing else, if that medication is not doing what it needs to do, that's not helping you. If your family's watching you suffer, that's not helping them. So nobody's winning in that situation. And you ask for help, get it, and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah, but you got to also understand from both parties' perspective, either the one who has the problem or the one who doesn't have the problem, that it's probably not going to be an easy conversation
Mm-hmm.
to help say to your partner, look, there's some things that, don't seem to be adding up here. You coming up with responses and ideas that are totally, you know, bizarre. And so, you got some habits that aren't really making any sense or excessive compulsive, whatever. And so you'd like to identify that before you get committed to them. But, things happen along the way. And the point is that both of you have to be willing to accept the fact that this is a reality or just a legitimate concern. And then you have to be willing to say, okay, well, let's look into it, or I'll look into it, type of a thing. But if you're just like, oh man, I'm in denial, I ain't doing that, I ain't crazy, you know, but, I am. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't know it. It
Yeah.
seems normal to me because I've been doing this all my life. But the reality is, people look at you, they like, hey, I ain't got nothing to do with Joe. Joe, you know, Joe is Joe, whatever. But now you've gotten committed to that person, and then again, you also need to know about, is it going to affect children?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you bring children with you, now you got a person that you're dealing with that you committed to that's half nuts. You don't know what they're going to do when you when you leave them alone with the kid, or if you have a kid, are they going to come out half nuts? So it's not going to be, it's not a pretty situation, but you want to deal with it as quickly as possible and being honest about it. The last two items, and they're quick, but I think they're very important. They probably should have came first. The first one, number 9, lying.
Mm-hmm.
This is another bad health habit that isn't obvious, but can uh, most definitely ruin a relationship. Lying about anything is simply a bad move in a relationship. Relationships that thrive on honesty, no, relationships thrive on honesty and trust. And if you're caught lying, especially about something big or on several occasions, it isn't going to last. Beyond causing distrust, arguments, and potentially breaking up, lying is stressful. It can really take a toll on you emotionally, adding a lot of stress on top of causing tension in the relationship. Thoughts on lying? Any?
Well, um, everybody does it. Doesn't make it right, but everybody does it. And some people want you to not be as honest as you might want to be sometimes, which, you know,
Well, I don't
makes it
lie.
even more. I
I
mean,
don't
but
lie.
I'm not saying,
Said everybody.
well, I mean, everybody has. sometime in their life. How about that?
Lied,
Yeah. Mhm.
probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably very few people that haven't told a small fib or this, that, and the other, or mischaracterized
Everybody
something.
has lied.
Yeah.
Everybody. I
Yeah.
don't care who they are. They could be the bishop. They could be the
Hmm.
archbishop, the king
Hmm.
bishop. They lied once, for sure.
Yeah.
And usually it's so subtle. Sometimes listen, somebody walks up to you, someone you like or love or whatever. Oh, how does my hair look? And she'd be like, boy, you busted today. But no, it looks really good.
You
You
like it, I
just,
love it.
right, you just wasted a lie because you know you was lying.
Hmm. So, I mean, in some, but you did point out that something big, I mean, the little ones kind of go unchecked,
Big
still
is
gone.
relative word
Yeah.
because, the lie is a lie because once you get caught in it, you
Yeah.
caught. And
Yeah.
you're going to get the full impact of what you were trying to avoid. You
Hmm.
know, Probably the best thing to do is like just smile and
Right.
don't say nothing.
What did you
Let them
say?
figure it out. Right. Oh, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
How
And the
about the
last,
hip?
yeah, about those jets. But the last item, which is very important, the lack of physical intimacy. Okay, lack of sex isn't a bad health habit and doesn't hurt your health, but having sex can be very good for your health.
Mm.
According to Prevention Magazine, sex can improve your self esteem and even help your immune system. It can
Okay.
also help relieve stress and strengthen the bond with your partner. In general, physical intimacy is an important part of a relationship. People have desires and physical needs, and when their needs aren't met, tension creeps in. If left ignored, your relationship could suffer. Putting in some effort to maintain an active sex life can potentially improve your health and relationship. It's a win-win situation. One of the things that we need to understand in a relationship is your issue with me and sex are two different things. You mad at me and you're going to hold back on the sex because you mad at me. And no one said that you were right and you were right. And because, you know, this is a sticking point for a lot of relationships. One gets mad, I'm not feeling I'm not feeling you. Well, you need to get over that. Okay? Because
Mhm.
whatever that issue is, you need to address it and address it as quickly as possible. Because first off, you ain't doing about wasting time being mad about something that you probably can't fix
Mhm.
or they don't want you to fix. We'll deal with that. Look, I don't want you to smoke. You want to smoke. So I'm not going to have sex with you. How's that working out for us?
Mhm.
I don't want you to smoke. You want to smoke. I'm not really feeling comfortable with you. Okay, we need to talk about this. We need to figure this out because, I ain't getting sex and, I got to go find it somewhere else. So now I got two problems as opposed to one, you know. And once you're married, you still going to have to pay the tab. So whether you paying it now or you paying it in divorce court, you're going to still pay the tab. So intimacy is important. And besides, how long can you want to be mad at somebody? Because the time you spend being mad at them, that's lost time. And the other side of it, what if they was mad at you?
Mhm.
And they want to be mad at you just as long and longer so you get their point. As opposed to, well, look, some things we could talk about. We can agree to disagree.
Mhm.
You know, Sometimes you have to do that.
Yep.
We don't always speak the same language, even though we use the same language. And so we got to work with each other. We got to try to understand each other because we are two different people. You know,
Yep.
And a lot of folks just don't want to get to that part of the conversation or that part of the thinking. It's just like, you made me mad. I'm, I didn't make you mad. You accepted being mad. Okay. Now, if I did something to hurt you purposely, then that's a different kind of conversation.
Hmm.
But you annoyed at something or whatever, you got to put things in perspective. You know,
Yeah.
everything isn't life or death. You know, did you want to say something? I'm sorry, I just
No,
kept
you
talking.
good. But you do have to put stuff in perspective because, like I said, it's you know prolonging a situation because you're annoyed. Um, Probably it's not the best thing for a relationship because that may be a small thing to the person that you're avoiding. Like if you're going to remove intimacy from a relationship because this person did something that annoyed you, that you're saying that you with, you love, you want to be with physically, emotionally, and everything, but because they annoyed you, you're going to remove sex from the situation. All you're doing is causing more drama to come in because now when that person, if the shoe was on the other foot and they put you through the same thing, you're going to respond differently if it's going toward you, and you're not going to accept that, you're not going to like that, and then you're going to want it's like tit for tat, and it doesn't get better, it just gets worse, and then you might as well just say if it's that important to you, you might as well say, look, I don't want to be in a relationship with you,
Hmm.
and then you can go on and do what you do, and that person can go on and do what they do, and but when you talk about marriage, it's not that easy. It's like, hey, well, you left the toilet seat up. I'm not going to do nothing with you tonight.
Well, you got to
Um,
understand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go on. Go on. Go on.
I would say, go put the toilet seat down, whatever, and solve the problem. You still mad because the toilet seat is down now? You know.
Well, it's not so much the toilet seat being well, that is a problem, but the toilet seat being down is you missing the toilet. That's a problem, and you won't clean up behind yourself. That's a problem. Oh, I didn't see that down there. But that's just nasty. But anyway, we get back to the conversation of control when you do that. When you're mad about something, and the Bible tells you, don't sleep on the issue. You know, you're angry about something, you need to have that conversation before you go to sleep. Because you sleep on it, then it doesn't go away, and you the enemy has an opportunity to work your mind into thinking that I'm just going to dig my heels in, whether I'm right or wrong, and it's going to be my way. So it's about control. You know, People make mistakes. You know, Sometimes on purpose. They thought it was the right thing, but it was. I did it that way, but it didn't work out. You know,
Mhm.
and you got to be as forgiving as you want someone else to be forgiving of you, and that is clearly in the Bible. If you won't forgive, why would God forgive you? He tells you straight up, you can't forgive, I can't forgive you. Now, you may not see the consequences of that statement anytime in the near future, but you will have to address that in the end, because there's going to be a reconciliation.
Mhm.
I just we talked about earlier before we started online. Change is going to come.
Mhm.
That's just it. Anybody sit there and think that, well, I made it and everything is good, something going to change. Maybe for the good, maybe for the not good, you know. But it's going to come. So anyway, um, I think we've already spent about 40 minutes on this, so I don't think we're going to get to any other topic, like the 4 points I want to make about the baggage that you bring. And I didn't put any videos in now, but I'll stick them in as we go when I edit this. Why don't you give your, announcement, and then we'll just close out.
All right. Well, to all our viewers, we'd like to extend the opportunity for you to recommend a topic for us to discuss, or if you'd like to be a part of the panel, please send us a message in the comments section, and we'll see about getting you on the show or getting that topic discussed.
Thank you. And we'll be back next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
and the creek don't rise.
Thank you, and God bless.